So this building was completed in 1906, and my understanding is that there has been worship on every Sunday continuously since then, and that is somewhat remarkable. Of course, we have many historic churches in our diocese across Europe and beyond, but most of them have had periods when they have been worship's been interrupted, not least because of 2 world wars, and so. For those periods, the community's disappeared, the building's been mothballed, it's maybe been taken over and used as a storehouse, it's been damaged, maybe sometimes bombed. But here I understand St. John's has just kept going. And it is a remarkable thing, just how many memories and how much history a building like St. John's embodies.
In 1864, his last name was Wooldridge, bought a piece of land to bury his son, who had died very young. And one of the things that we see even through the beginning of the 20th century is that there are a lot of children that are buried at St. John's plot.
It started off as a graveyard, and then even the chapel was finished in 1906. It wasn't consecrated until a bishop from Sierra Leone was able to visit in November of 1911. Shortly after the church was finished in 1906, they had gotten a gift from one of the parishioners' families from England of a big Bible. There was insurrection from some Berbers attacking the French who were in Casablanca at the time, and there was some damage done to the church. In the inscription in the Bible is reference to that damage that had been done to the church in 1907.
Yeah, my name's David Lee, and I'm therefore the great-grandson of the Reverend Harry Newcomb, who was the first vicar here in Casablanca. He arrived on Christmas Eve in 1910, accompanied, as I understand, by the Bishop of Gibraltar, under which diocese this church existed and I presume does today. And they conducted Christmas midnight communion, but sadly he died only a few months later. He must have contracted some disease, as looking through the churchyards, lots of people did die.
I think back in the mid-1800s and into early 1900s, it was a hard environment for children and for perhaps ill adults. I think he was a medical doctor, George Grieve, who undertook the building of the chapel. And before they actually had the opening, he died.
You had British business people, traders coming, moving to Casablanca. And before World War II, the late 1930s, you had a robust British economy developing in Casablanca.
With Operation Torch, we've got General Patton, who was a very strong believer, who practiced his faith, came to St. John's every week, and his charged a fare. And
he's probably considered one of our most famous attenders of services there. As a result of his love for St. John's and the work that the chaplain at that time, Cecil Green, had done with the soldiers. We have pictures of several weddings that the soldiers had had during that wartime that were done at St. John's. And George Patton donated the pulpit, and after the war, his family donated the altar table.
When you met Cecil Green, it's always with a smile. He was always smiling. He was well known all over Casablanca.
He was appointed as sort of a traveling chaplain because there were 4 of them, and they served other communities, not just Casa. They served Essaouira, Tangiers, and Rabat.
He was very devoted, and he was very good to Moroccan community as well, I think. He was well liked. He was well liked.
He served between the first 5 years being an associate chaplain to being a full chaplain. He served Casablanca for 49 years.
Well, I am John Gooch, and my wife is?
Penny Gooch. We're from South Africa.
There was a number of bomb explosions here in the city. I'm not sure what year, 2004, somewhere around there. And we had a team of folks came to join us to pray for peace in the city. And we went to the first bomb site, which was down here at the, I think it was the hotel, it was a different name, I think it's the Farah here in the city, and the whole frontage had been blown away. And we just felt we needed to pray and to ask the Lord His blessing to bring peace where blood had been shed. And so we went to the site and we started praying, and next thing the police were there, not unexpectedly. We hadn't sought to get permission, but the police came and they said, "What are you doing?" We told them, and they said, "That's wonderful." And so they provided a cordon around us. We prayed, and then we said to them, "Well, we want to go to all the sites where bombs had exploded and people had been killed." And they took us to each site and they guided us the whole day. And in the end, we bought them all an ice cream on the corniche or something. And they were so blessed and they were happy. And we were just amazed that they saw what we did as a blessing, not as a problem. And so, yeah, God used it.
Well, I think at the outset, I'd want to say how grateful I am personally to the King of Morocco for the way in which he and his ministers have supported and encouraged and allowed Christian worship to take place here since 1906. Over the diocese, we've noticed in recent decades a change in the sorts of people who come to our churches. So there was a time when our churches were very much expatriate churches, English and American. But the nature of the worldwide church is changing, and there's a greater prominence now and a greater population shift towards people from the global south, from Africa and from Asia. And indeed, that's what we're seeing in St. John's Casablanca. More people from Asia, more people from Africa.
The people who actually come to the church have changed a lot. As I said, there were far more British families in the 80s and 90s as well. Americans will and carried on coming right through to the early 2000s. It's very different now because we have more of the sub-Saharans who give a different vibe to the church. They're very sort of warm people, and
well, I think that's the way the world is going, isn't it? I mean, even in the UK, there is so many nationalities, and yeah. Well, we've had 2 services for quite a few years now.
Today we have people from 16 different countries around the world, which I may also say from the 6 continents of our world. In the recent years, the number of the congregation has increased from almost just under 100 to about 160. 5 years ago, the church started a development project which has 4 phases. Back in 21st of June 2019, we dedicated the community center, and then from that time we started to use the community center as a place for worship. And then in September 2019 we're starting a complete renovation and expansion of the church. We are grateful and thankful that the King of Morocco, His Majesty King Mohammed VI, and all the authorities of the city of Casablanca who have been part of the decision making and facilitating the work, so that this project one day will see its fulfillment. For us, it's a dream, and now the dream has become true.
So it means preserving the building, of course, but also, of course, this is, in that case, this church is the oldest one still in activity, so it's very particular, 1906, and still working. I mean, still people praying in it, so it's very important because it keeps the link with the youth. It's part of the local history, so it's part of our history, so it's part of my history, so it's my duty to do something for that. So it's very important in terms of restoration process, not to build a fake building. So it's a new building and made with materials that give no confusion. I mean, it's new. The building was very well built because it was built with quite poor materials. I mean, we can imagine that in the beginning of the 20th century to find building materials in Casablanca was not that easy. It's made by stone. It's stone. It's cement tiles in the floor. It's wood, cedar wood for the ceiling and tiles. So it was very good, built with very good ways or good techniques. So the extension, we expect those same materials. We guess that the same stone, of course, finding exactly the same stone like a century later, it's not easy. The same wood. The tile, the same color of the tiles, but we choose a different size of tiles to make the difference visible. The advantage that we have is that the handicraft of people are still, maybe not in Casablanca, but everybody. I mean, we find people working for the stone, for the wood, for the tiles. Everything was working because it's the same technique we use in our buildings. So that's what makes me say it's a Moroccan building, although it's the shape. It's not, but the techniques and the people are from here. At what time was from here? So we were able to build everything except the windows, the stained glass windows. You know, with the images that we had. We're working on them, and that had to be done in Europe because it's specifically something very specific, very religious. We don't have that in our religion, so it was impossible to find somebody working on that locally. It's the only part of the restoration extension that's going to be just to come from Europe. Everything is local, the materials, the people, and that's another demonstration that it's local building, part of the local history.
Finally, to the glory of God, and in thanksgiving for all those who have been helping us to finish this project, this church, St. John's Anglican Church in the Diocese of Europe, in the city of Casablanca, the Kingdom of Morocco, will be rededicated to the work of the Kingdom of God in this land on March 28th and 29th, 2020. Praise be to God. Amen.